Looks like we're all almost here.
Hey, so let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Venza's quarterly hospitality webinar series. I'm Barbara Espinosa. I'm the Director of Product and Customer Strategy here at Venza, and I'm thrilled to be your host at this event. At Venza, we believe that knowledge is your best defense. That's why every quarter our experts dive into the emerging risks and challenges facing hospitality. Today's topic, well, we have chargeback support, fraud protection for Venza. Credit card chargebacks impact hospitality more frequently and more severely than any other industry, draining revenue, disrupting operations, and damaging the brand trust. We're not here just to highlight the problem, sorry. Today, we'll be discussing our new solution, chargeback protection, the most recent addition to our 360-degree suite of protection and recovery tools, purpose-built for the unique challenges of hospitality. Stay with us over the next 30 minutes as we unpack the true cost of chargebacks, including the hidden impacts many hoteliers overlook. And then we'll also show you how Venza's chargeback support can help you prevent disputes, protect your revenue, and take control of this rising threat. To get us started, I'm pleased to welcome Laura Jane Hatcher, Venza's technical communicator. Through her work. Oh, hi, LJ. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good, thank you. LJ, so through your work on Venza Echo, our expert-driven article series, you have done extensive research into the unique costs and consequences of chargebacks in hospitality. So for those who may be unfamiliar, can you explain what a chargeback is and why it's such a significant challenge for hoteliers?
Yeah, Barbara, to answer your question, a chargeback happens when a guest contacts their credit card company to dispute a transaction. So businesses have a very short window to respond to a dispute, and if they don't meet that timeline or provide sufficient evidence, the funds are just automatically removed, along with any added fees, and refunded to the guest. Chargebacks, they are on the rise across all sectors, largely due to the fact they are now so easy to initiate. While many may be legitimate, some unfortunately are used as a mechanism for crime and fraud. In fact, major credit card networks link over 70% of fraud to chargeback misuse. No industry has felt this impact quite like hospitality, where chargeback associated losses exceed 25 billion USD annually. Not only do hoteliers face more disputes than other sectors, they also win far fewer of them. And compounding that problem, nearly half of guests now bypass the hotel entirely and file chargebacks directly with their credit card issuer instead of requesting a refund. So today I'll be providing some visibility into how chargebacks directly impact revenue, operations, and guest trust, offering context for how Venza's chargeback support tackles these challenges head on, from prevention to recovery. To start, let's take a look at the most immediate and financially damaging impact of chargebacks, revenue loss. So unlike retail, hotel services obviously can't be returned. Whether it's a room held on a sold out night, a damage fee, a dispute over a guest satisfaction issues, a successful chargeback always has the same result, lost revenue. Independent hoteliers who have the ability to absorb losses, independent hoteliers who don't have the ability to absorb losses of that magnitude, they're hit pretty hard. They've lost over 2 million to fraud and chargebacks in 2024 alone. In addition to the refunded amount, chargebacks often carry additional payment processor fees, which can be up to $100 per dispute. And because hospitality has so many chargebacks, it's often labeled as a high-risk sector. So this in turn can lead to higher processing fees, or in more severe cases, the termination of a merchant account. So in addition to direct revenue loss, chargebacks are also have a direct cost on your operations, the time and labor required to respond. From the moment a dispute begins, your hotel only has a short window to respond before it escalates. The challenge? Every card issuer and processor handles disputes differently. from how they notify you to how you're expected to submit evidence. This creates a challenging operational burden that costs hoteliers time and money. On average, responding to each dispute requires about $30 in administrative labor. With how often chargebacks happen in hospitality, you can kind of see those costs adding up. And what's worse, that win rate we mentioned earlier. Across industries, businesses win about 60% of chargebacks. For hospitality, that win rate is just 15%. That means most of the time and effort spent disputing them ends up wasted. Now, beyond lost revenue and labor, chargebacks have a more subtle but equally critical cost: guest trust. More than 70% of guests say they're concerned about fraud when booking a hotel reservation, and this is for a good reason. Some studies show half of all credit card fraud occurs within hospitality. In many instances, fraudsters use stolen credit card data to book rooms and test transaction limits. And when that happens, it's not the criminal the guest remembers, it's the hotel. On top of this, a property is left absorbing those chargeback fees, labor costs, revenue losses, all of this because of a transaction you didn't cause but are now responsible for. And the best way to respond to this is by acting quickly and decisively to resolve claims of fraud. But that may prove challenging when the frequency of chargebacks collides with the already complex and fast-paced nature of hotel day-to-day operations. So by now, it should be clear that chargebacks present a serious risk to hoteliers. Like regulatory pressures and cybersecurity threats, chargebacks affect hospitality in ways few other industries experience, bringing unique challenges that require tailored solutions. To protect revenue and reputation, hospitality needs a holistic approach, one that addresses prevention, compliance, and recovery all together. That's where chargeback support comes in. Purpose-built for hospitality, it delivers targeted protection against each of these challenges head on. And as you will hear, it allows hoteliers to respond and deflect disputes early before they can escalate into chargebacks, helping to keep fees low, protect revenue, and safeguard merchant accounts from high-risk flags. For the cases that can't be resolved, the program can make a property whole by reimbursing a significant amount of qualifying card-present swipe or chip card transactions, up to $100,000 USD annually. Operationally, this lifts the burden off your hotel teams. Real-time alerts notify you the moment a guest initiates a potential dispute, enabling early intervention before a chargeback is filed, saving time, reducing costs, and easing administrative workloads. And when it comes to fraud, it's not just covered by that $100,000 reimbursement. The solution also reinforces your commitment to guest security, enabling fast, proactive responses to cardholder concerns. So this is more than just chargeback management. It's part of a broader, Venza's broader all-in-one protection, delivering end-to-end coverage with the added assurance of response when incidents or chargebacks occur. And back to you, Barbara.
Thank you, LJ. And now, to give us a closer look at how chargeback support works, I'm thrilled to welcome Ben Trumley, Citra CEO. As a recognized leader in payment security and compliance, Venza works closely with Citra to facilitate critical PCI DSS compliance functions, such as self-assessment questionnaire completion and vulnerability scanning. Beyond these tools, they also provide data breach coverage, chargeback reimbursement, and simplified risk management. Our partnership with Citra brings hoteliers a powerful all-in-one solution, as mentioned by LJ, combining compliance and chargeback management into a single intuitive platform. Hello, Ben. Welcome to the webinar. We're excited to have you here.
Hi, everybody.
Great to be here. Thank you. Can you give us a little overview of how the solution works and how it can better help hoteliers deflect, manage, and recover from chargebacks?
Absolutely. So we're going to go into some of the highlights to start the program. There is two different sides to the program. One product is called Deflect, and the other called Advantage. We'll go a little bit into each of these. I want to start with some of the highlights. So what we tried to do is we have two systems. One is a preventative system, and one is a reactive system. So in the prevention, we are running about a 30% deflection ratio in automation. So in other words, 30% of the time we can get rid of a chargeback before it ever happens based on the information, the integration, and our intellectual property and the way that we produce digital receipts. So let's say a customer were to call the card issuer to do a dispute. At that case, we can respond within 2 seconds, and we're able to stop that dispute from taking effect 30% of the time in automation. So real-time alerts also can happen. So we have options in the system, so you'll be able to be notified real-time when those customers contact their card issuers, if that's something that you would like to do. Cardholder inquiry notifications. So anytime those cardholders are contacting their card issuers under the Visa brand, then you're going to get a response, and we're going to respond to that customer within 2 seconds with the digital receipt. So we have a simple, intuitive dashboard. So it allows you to see all the activity that's happening throughout your entire company and the merchant account for all chargeback data, including purchase inquiries where customers are calling to find out whether they're calling to say this is a fraudulent transaction and so forth. That dashboard will help you simply see what's going on in the business when it comes to chargebacks and disputes. And as just mentioned a little bit earlier, we also have a $100,000 annual reimbursement program. So with that reimbursement program, that $100,000 cap is also there. So let's kind of go through a little bit more in detail. We can go to that next slide. So the first product is that deflect. So just as I spoke a moment ago, what we're talking about is a customer contacting their card issuer. It could either be through their cell phone, where the card asks them, was this you? Through email, was this you? It could be a customer calling their card issuer. But any way that they contact that card issuer, we will have the response time to be able to grab that digital receipt and respond back to that card issuer within 2 seconds. And again, with a 30% effective ratio is what we run on average today in that automation. In cases that we can get itemized data, if we can do an additional integration with your business, where we can grab itemized data as to actually what they paid for, in those cases, we can sometimes double that. So we can run about a 60% effective ratio when it comes to being preventing that chargeback or dispute from happening. So through that process, again, you'll see all the information that'll be automated right inside of that portal with additional options that'll also be there for you in protecting and watching your chargebacks as they happen in a preventative fashion. All right, so the next product we're going to talk about is Advantage Program. So Advantage Program is a really unique program. We're the only ones in the world that do this, but it's an actual chargeback reimbursement. So now we're going to be responding to a chargeback once it's already happened. So this right now currently covers card present, for fraud, for EMV liability shift, and for fallback. So anytime you get a chargeback for one of those 3 reasons, then literally the team will cut a check and reimburse you, including the chargeback fees that you paid on the merchant account itself. The transaction amount has to be $1,000 or less on the transaction. And again, it has to be one of those 3 reason codes: fraud, EMV liability shift, or fallback. We do need you to submit that up into the portal, which is super simple. When you log into the portal, there'll be a button that says submit claim. You simply click on that button and you upload a copy of the chargeback letter. It's truly that easy. And then from that point, our team reviews those, make sure that they're within these guidelines, that the transaction was fraud, EMV liability shift, or fallback, that it was uploaded within the last 60 days of the letter being received to you, which is the date of the chargeback letter. And then finally, that it was a card present transaction. Now we do have some questions. I'll just head that off right away. For Moto and e-commerce transactions, there is a program coming for this in the future, so stand by for that. But right now, currently, we're covering those card present transactions in a fashion of refunding you to make you whole. So with that, I will hand it back to you, Barbara.
Thank you, Ben.
You're
So
welcome.
all of this sounds amazing, but I wanted to ask you, what is not covered? Can you provide some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So product not as described, or something, a product not delivered, those type things are in the merchant's control. So let's break down a little bit further into the fraud EMV liability shift fallback so that it makes a little more sense. When it comes to fraud, this is generally a customer taking advantage of the business, right? So, hey, my cousin used this card, or I let my kids use it, or whoever. I didn't remember that I let somebody else, or I put their room on my card, those type things. So you get a lot of friendly fraud, which is, it's not that they didn't actually do it, but they've forgotten, or they got they on the statement that they received from their bank, they don't recognize the acronym. So the acronym that's there, they might not say, I don't recognize what this is. So then they call in, and with our digital receipt, they can see the full name of the business and the address and all the information so that they know where they spent that transaction at. So fraud, again, is most of the time a customer trying to take advantage of a business by disputing a transaction, even if it was legitimate. Whereas EMV liability shift and fallback, this is not the customer calling back into the card issuer to tell them, hey, they didn't use my chip. They actually swiped the card instead. Instead, this is actually the card issuer seeing insider information with the ability to initiate that chargeback themselves. So EMV liability shift and fallback, in our opinion, is a little bit where a merchant can get abused from a card issuer. So in those cases, we're protecting you from things that the merchants, protecting the merchant from the things that the customer can do to you and the card issuer can do to you. So things that are in your control, like not delivering product, or your product isn't as described, those type things are in your control. So those would not be covered under the program.
Hey, that makes it very clear. And just real quick to go over again, the reimbursement process, how does that work?
I have to have you say that one more time. I apologize.
For the reimbursement process, how would that work? Once the chargeback
reimbursement
dispute
process.
or the claim passes on, then what's the reimbursement process?
Yeah, absolutely. So when a claim is submitted to our portal, our team reviews it pretty instantly. It's done within a few hours. Once that review is done, it goes in a queue to get to billing department to literally cut checks and send out in the mail. We are switching recently, got approved to move to a digital system where we can actually do account and routing number, where we can do a digital ACH deposit back to you. So if that's of interest when you're signing up, let us know and we can look at that program for you as well. But traditionally, we literally will cut a check. So you'll expect a check within 45 to 60 days after the submission of that chargeback.
Perfect. Sounds simple enough. Well, thank you so much, Ben. We're going to be in the lookout here for some questions from our audience, but now I'm excited to welcome our very own Ben Jarrett, Vice President of Sales at Venza, to the webinar. Hey, Ben, welcome.
Thanks, Barbara. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you for taking the time as well, all of our presenters. So Ben's here to share how the chargeback support integrates into the Venza broader data protection and compliance program ecosystem. He'll also explain how both existing and new clients can get started with this full spectrum protection. So Ben, let's get started with the basics. How does this new solution fit into the whole Venza's existing suite of programs and tools?
Absolutely. So I just want to say welcome to everyone. I appreciate having the opportunity to talk with you. And as I like to say, in this case, two Bens are better than one. So we can actually cover it from both angles. But the interesting thing is when we look at when we look at new products and services to offer our customers, one of the things that we always take into account is how is this going to be utilized and how can we use the existing tools that are already in place. So one of the things that we've done, especially if you're currently a Venza customer, we've actually are using the same tool. So the tool that you're used to going to look at for your self-assessment questionnaires or your ASB and internal scanning, it will be the same type of tool. So it'll be integrated into that UI. So you won't have to worry about going to a different tech stack to pull the information, or as Ben described, to upload your documents. So from that standpoint, it's going to be seamless. There will be some information that we'll need to obtain from the merchants, from our customers, but it's very simple, and it's basically a seamless and integration to get you up and running quickly. So from a standpoint of why would somebody do this? What's the business case? So what's in it for me, which is always a question that we get. So I think there's kind of a different approach that we take in this situation. So we're looking at it from both a proactive and then as a backstop type program. So from a proactive standpoint, what we're trying to do is prevent chargebacks from happening in the beginning to where you're having to incur charges and utilize general manager's time, whether it's a finance group's time. You're actually burning resources regardless of if you're going to actually have a recovery of that claim. So what we're trying to do is if we can stop that before that happens, then what we're doing is we're actually allowing you to recoup the soft questions or the soft costs. And then basically, if you look at it, the way it's set up, the program, if you can prevent 3 to 4 chargebacks a month, will more than pay for itself. And that's just the top level ROI. If you get into the warranty coverage that Ben described previously, where we're covering up to $1,000 per transaction and $100,000 per property per year, that's just the icing on the cake. But for a lot of clients, if you're an existing client, this is a great way that depending on your issue that you're having with chargebacks, whether it's currently you're having issues or in the future you don't want to be in that situation, that this could be a great way for you to offset some costs that you utilize for Venza services when you're doing your compliance and your data protection. So no one likes to spend money there, but this is a great way to kind of wrap it all together and figure out a way to pay for it versus always just being an expense. So, my understanding is, and I like to share with my customers is, prevention is the best protection.
That's a great phrase, then. I couldn't agree more. I have a couple questions for you, though, just to make it crystal clear. How does this service compare with other offerings currently available in the market?
So it's a little bit different because we talked about the proactiveness of trying to catch the chargebacks before they actually became a chargeback. So traditionally, the legacy models for chargeback protection is that you turn over your whole process to a third-party company. They will work all that. They'll work on your behalf, file the claims, follow up on the claims, and then they'll take a percentage of whatever that is. And in the hospitality industry, given the high ticket size, that can be a lot of money. So I think this is a unique way to preserve your revenue, but also fight chargebacks at the same time.
Okay, and if I already have a current process in place, right, does this service replace my current chargeback dispute process?
It does not. It basically complements what you're currently doing because as we mentioned, you'll still want to process the chargebacks and have a process to handle that. But these are only going to be chargebacks that actually come through. So you may see a reduced workload because of the Deflect program. We're actually going to try to take a third of those at least away. So you're only working the real critical chargebacks.
Gotcha. And that's a great cost saving, like you were mentioning, right? Just in time of processing all of this. Okay, so can I submit a warranty claim to Venza and still collect from the disputing of the chargeback with my merchant bank? Can I do both?
Absolutely. This is what I call double dipping. And it's one of those things that we're offering to our clients that take advantage of this program. So you would normally process your chargeback the same way with your merchant bank. So you're going to follow through. You're going to submit the claim. If you're successful, which as LJ said earlier, it's very, very low because of a lot of different factors. Most of it's timing because people just forget about it or it just doesn't become high priority. But what this does is if you follow your current process, you'll collect on your chargeback everything except for the fees that are charged. Now, what we're also going to do is by you submitting the claim at the same time, we're going to reimburse you for those fees, those chargeback fees from your merchant bank. And then also you're going to actually get reimbursed up to $1,000 for that transaction. So from that instance, you could be actually double dipping.
Okay, so the slide here on the screen says protection that pays for itself, right? You cover some of the costs that this program would save our customers. So what's the pricing structure here? Is this pricing for the service fixed, variable? How would that work to actually pay for itself?
Absolutely. So traditional models have kind of a variable where they take a percentage of whatever is recovered. In this case, it's a fixed model. So you know what the charges are going to be on an annual basis. And as we talked about earlier, the ROI is pretty aggressive. So from that standpoint, it's not a situation where you're giving up lost revenue. We're only actually preventing the revenue from being lost.
Okay, so I think we just went full circle back to how does the service compare with other offerings as well, huh? Okay, last question, and this one is actually from one of our customers. I think we touched a little bit, and either Ben can take this one. We touched a little bit on card present versus card not present, but the question here is, how does this service protect my property from card not present chargebacks?
Would you like me to take that one?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll tag team this one, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. So the deflect service doesn't matter if it's card present or card not present. So the stuff that we're doing in advance, the preventative services of what deflect is doing, doesn't matter if it's card present or not present. The advantage side, as far as the chargeback reimbursement, is currently limited to the card present only environment. And again, in the near future, we will also offer an additional program for card not present. But today, on the chargeback reimbursement portion, again, that is going to be for card present, but deflect and the preventative services are for all business types.
So from that perspective, yes, you're getting some coverage. I think the other point is that we're going to continue to evolve the product offering, and as Ben mentioned earlier, there'll be some things coming out on card not present, but it could also be as easily as working with your staff, your general managers, to ask for a swipe at check-in. Now, I know as a preferred client for one of the brands, they don't like to do that. But in this case, if you can get them to understand what you're doing, I think it makes a lot of sense if you can get them to swipe a card. And even for incidentals, it'll make a big difference.
And the follow-up question that I have over here, actually, I think it ties pretty much back into this one about cards not present. But how would this work with mobile check-in solutions?
So it'd work the same way. So it'd be, if you get a card authorization, as Ben was mentioning, it's still going to be part of the deflect program. As far as the warranty protection, that's something coming in the future. But right now, it will. If it doesn't catch on deflect, then you'll have to process it as your normal chargeback methodology.
Hey, thank you. And then I see one last question here. Where can we get further information and your terms and conditions? And I'm going to add to that, Ben, Jared. How can Venza customers sign up, get started for this?
So Venza customers, it's fairly easy. Just reach out to your customer success coach or your sales manager or whoever you're in contact with frequently. They can help you get started with this program. We're ready to kick it off. We're going to be talking about it some more in high tech, but I think it's a unique new offering for the hospitality industry and especially for our current clients. Now, for those clients that aren't using Venza, this might be a great way for us to introduce our services because we look at it from a holistic approach for the hospitality industry. So we're focused only on hospitality. And because of that, we're always looking for these type of solutions for our clients. So we've been doing this for 17 years, and we hope to be serving this industry for another 17.
Thank you so much, Ben. And everybody, you heard it. Protect your revenue, cut your risks, simplify your security. From data breaches to chargebacks, Venza delivers the full spectrum protection, and smarter security starts here. So let's get you covered. If you want to dive deeper into how Venza's chargeback support solution works, you can scan the QR code on the screen to access walkthrough videos and detailed resources. And also, if you're ready to get started with this full spectrum of data and chargeback protection, and you can also scan the QR code. And for Venza clients, reach out to your customer success coach or your sales executive. And if you're not a client yet, just email us at sales@venzagroup.com. You can also click the link in the chat or use the QR code on the right to connect with our team. Okay, so that's right on time. This wraps up this edition of the Hospitality Webinar Series. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you have any further questions, we continue reading you. You can contact us at any time. We're really happy to dig deeper into this topic with you. And this was the second edition in our 4-part Hospitality Webinar Series for 2025. So be sure to join us on our on Wednesday, 3 September for our next session, The Frontline, Why Training Every Employee Matters, where we'll explore the risks of leaving staff untrained and how to overcome operational challenges in rolling out team-wide security education. So that's all for now. Thanks again, and until next time, stay secure.